Yo, what is up guys? Delboy here, aka Blue Collar Sports TV. Hopefully you guys are doing well. If you're new here, smash that like, hit subscribe, all of that good stuff. So, Agit Kabayel beats down, outworks, and stops Frank Sanchez in the 7th round of their WBC heavyweight eliminator. This was a dominant performance by Agit Kabayel, and he did it in a fight in which I expected to be very competitive. In fact, stylistically, I felt Sanchez would get the nod when it was all said and done, based on my prediction, but that wasn't the case. I got this fight badly wrong. Going in, I felt Kabayel would struggle to close the distance against a mover like Frank Sanchez, because when you've seen Kabayel prior to the Makhmedov fight in his career, Kabayel was more of a boxer type, like to stand with you and kind of fire the jab from the outside, the straight right behind it, picking his spots, etc. In recent times, he appears to have almost reinvented himself. Like, if you go back to the Chisora fight, he was boxing and moving, even against the likes of Kevin Johnson, you know, boxing and moving, keeping it on the outside, picking his spots. But the last couple of fights, Kabayel seems to have, changed his style almost. And he's been very effective with it, to be honest. Got to credit him. He's clearly a versatile fighter because he can box a bit, as we saw in the Chisora fight. But in this fight, he was playing the aggressor, and he did it very well. First round was interesting. Frank Sanchez, of course, as we expect, boxing on the back foot, pouring out with the jab, and Kabayel was the guy being the aggressor. First round, I actually felt Sanchez won the first round. Sanchez was, at the time, in real time, I felt Sanchez was deliberately going on the ropes because he was timing Kabayel with his overhand right and the straight right, as well as the uppercut, and he was walking Kabayel into some decent shots. Kabayel ate them. They didn't really have much of an effect, but they were flashy shots. Kabayel, when he got close, tried to work, but I felt he was smothering himself a little bit. Got some clubbing shots off, but for me, I felt Sanchez was a bit more sharp in the first round. I gave Sanchez round 1. After round 1, though, Sanchez had no argument for any round. Kabayel was able to maneuver him around the ring. Kabayel never took a backward step, and Frank Sanchez spent so much time on the ropes that allowed Kabayel to really work away. And the combinations that Kabayel was throwing, or what he was throwing, was really good because he would change his combinations up. So much variety in his combinations. Sanchez would try to tuck up on the ropes, so what you'd see Kabayel do would be to lead with the uppercut, and that would raise Sanchez's guard ever so slightly. Then he would come around the side with body shots, and then finish to the head with maybe a left hook or a chopping overhand right. He was switching the combinations up so well, and he was picking his spots really well also. He was applying pressure without going gung-ho, without wasting much. Everything he was doing had an effect, even when he wasn't landing cleanly or clearly. You know, he was manhandling Frank Sanchez. He was bullying Frank Sanchez and making him very uncomfortable. I felt from the second round on, Sanchez looked incredibly uncomfortable, to the point to where I wondered whether he hurt his leg or hurt his ankle or something like that, because he was moving weird and he was spending so much time on the ropes. I do wonder whether he maybe picked up an injury, maybe an injury in camp or something, because his movement in this fight wasn't as good as I'm used to seeing. I know he's got the habit of sometimes sitting on the ropes, but I've never seen him do it to this extent. Regardless, Kabayel took advantage. He really did. Hooks around the side, hooks to body, hooks to head, uppercuts. The chopping overhand right was very successful in splitting the guard of Frank Sanchez. Round by round by round by round, Kabayel was chopping away. And Sanchez would have the odd moment of defiance, I guess. You know, he'd fire the overhand right, he'd catch Kabayel coming in, but those shots really had no effect on Kabayel at all. And Kabayel was able to eat those shots, and then if he was caught, he would give 4 or 5 back of his own. And even when Kabayel was coming forwards, I felt he was doing a good job of staying aware staying defensively responsible. You know, typical German style. You know, I know he's Turkish, but he was trained in Germany. That typical German high guard, jab, close the distance, work away. Good shape, nice and compact. Good balance to throw the shots. He wasn't off balance in this fight at all. Really good performance by Kabayel. And I'm very impressed with, like I said, the way he's almost adopted his style in recent times. Because again, I've been watching Kabayel for a while. You know, it's basically since the Chisora fight. And he was more of a boxer back then, like I was saying. But the last couple of fights, he's been much more aggressive in his work. And the combinations are pretty fluid, to be fair. Not the biggest puncher. He's not the biggest puncher, but he can wear you down. And he wore down Frank Sanchez. Like rounds 5 and 6, I felt the body language of Frank Sanchez was terrible. Always going in for the clinch. At times complaining to the referee for no real reason. I felt Kabayel was pretty clean in this fight. The only times he wasn't was when Frank Sanchez was clinching, you know. But Kabayel was very effective in his pressure. I felt from like rounds 5 and 6, Frank Sanchez wanted out. Round 7, Kabayel comes out, does the exact same thing. Nice tight guard, nice and compact, walking down Sanchez. And middle of a ring, little exchange. Kabayel opens up, hook to the body. Frank Sanchez goes down on his haunches. He beats the count, but at this point in time, Kabayel smells blood, backs up Frank Sanchez to a corner. He works away, throws a combination, lands another left hook to body. Sanchez goes down voluntarily, in my opinion. Doesn't get up. That was it. Fight over. He got broken down in this one. Really got broken down. And Kabayel, you know, moves to what, 25-0? 25-0 with 17 knockouts. Now beaten the likes of Frank Sanchez, Arslanbek Makhmudov. Of course, he beat Chisora way back when. And he's put himself in a great position. WBC final eliminator. You know, couple of good wins now on the bounce. It finally appears that Agit Kabayel is getting some momentum in his career, you know. We expected that after the Chisora win all those years ago, but never happened. Now it is. Still only 31 years old. And, yeah, good performance by Agit Kabayel. I really enjoyed it, actually. I really enjoyed his performance. I know he's the WBC mandatory now. I don't expect he'll get a title shot anytime soon. So if we're looking at potential fights for Kabayel, I think Joseph Parker would be a good fight. Jared Anderson would be a good fight, actually. You know, they're hyping up Jared Anderson, saying he's the next coming of Christ. Why not Kabayel versus Jared Anderson? Kabayel versus the winner of Zhili Zhang, Deontay Wilder. I think that's a great fight. Dillian White is still knocking about. That's a good fight. Kabayel has options. The only thing is he needs to stay active and he needs to build, you know? Don't make the same mistake he did when he beat Chisora. But yeah, really impressive performance by Kabayel, in my opinion. As for Frank Sanchez, I have to be honest, I was very disappointed with his output in this fight, with his effort. I do wonder whether he was injured, but I could be wrong. But yeah, Frank Sanchez, going to be hard to come back from that, I'll tell you that. But anyway, share your thoughts below. Beanie Guy Del Boy, peace.